Well, good morning. I am going to be making a couple of paracord bracelets. And I'm not going to give out too much information, but Anthony, these are for you and your brother. And I want to thank both of you for your service. I want to thank you, first of all, for your service to your community as a firefighter, and also for the honor and respect you have for your brother, which is very obvious in this note that you sent me. And I want to thank your brother for his service to our country. He currently is a Navy corpsman serving with a Navy SEAL unit in Iraq. And I've had the pleasure to work with a number of, a big number of Navy corpsmen, and they are the best. So I hope that God watches out for you, Anthony, and also watches out for your brother and his unit. I'll keep both of you in my thoughts and prayers, and most importantly, I hope your brother does not ever have to answer the call, corpsman up. But I probably will make another set of bracelets for you guys. I ordered some coyote brown, which you requested, and that is back ordered. So I will, as soon as that comes in, I'll probably remake these bracelets. But I'm going to be making the bracelet with a different type of core than I did on the last bracelet. And I'm going to utilize, and I'll do some close-ups on this in a little bit, but I'm going to utilize a button from a pair of BDUs. And while I'm getting down to the last of my buttons, I took apart a couple of sets of BDUs when I got out of the Navy and saved them because I knew they'd come in handy. And these are two from there. But it'll be a button with a Type 1 paracord inner core, and then right now I've got olive drab 550 cord or Type 3 cord, which I will do the braid on the outside. So I think those will be nice bracelets, and I'm going to get those out in the mail to you. Well, today is Sunday, but they'll be out in the mail first thing Monday morning. And again, I just want to thank you and your brother for your service. Without guys like you, the world would be a much more dangerous place. So the way I cut these buttons off my BDUs was basically I just took scissors and just clipped them off. And that always leaves this little residual with thread and cloth, and once that's removed, you've got a nice clean button. And this will be the type of core that I will be making the bracelet with. So it's a button with a loop, and this is Type 1 paracord, and this knot right here is a reverse blood knot, and that makes a nice core that makes it easy to remove the bracelet, but it's very secure. So we're going to be using for the core this Type 1 paracord, also used as tether cord, and I get this from countycom.com. A lot of cool EDC stuff there. A lot of you guys are probably familiar, but that's where that comes from. One little trick is I take a pair of scissors and I actually cut this at a little bit of an angle. Which gives the slightest point. And I quickly just flash that with a lighter. And then I burn it and roll it, which makes almost a needle point that makes it easier to thread this cord still takes a little bit of effort, but not a whole lot, but makes it easier to thread the cord through the BDU button. And I basically put it through one hole and then just go diagonally across the button So it ends up looking like that. So I'll get both these buttons set up, get myself a good length of cord off this spool, and then based on Anthony's note, he gave me a wrist size for both himself and his brother, and I'm going to make one for both. So I'll use the ruler to size the bracelet, and then we'll start weaving it. Okay, here's where we're at so far. Again, we're making the core for the bracelet, and I've got two of them ready to go here. And basically, I just sized this on my ruler. This one is this one's for Anthony. It's just a little bit over 9 1/4 inches, and then this is for his brother, which is just shy of 10 inches, about 9 3/4 inches. And what I've learned making these bracelets, just a couple of tips, is these tend to shrink a little bit over time, especially if you wear them in water. So I make them a little bit on the long side to start with. Plus, once you start weaving your paracord on the bracelet, that's going to also decrease the diameter. So I make it just a little bit longer for those two purposes. And then I also make the slot for the button just a little bit larger than the button itself, because this loop will shrink a little bit with exposure to water, and you want to be able to have a nice snug fit, but not so snug that it's difficult to take on and off with one hand, which you're doing on your wrist. So what I'm going to do now is trim these cores down so I've got a nice smooth reverse blood. So all you do is cut your paracord down tight to this blood knot, and you guys that work with knots know this. You just kind of spend some time and dress your knots, get them nice and tight, and get out all the excess, and that's all I've done there. So we'll cut this one off. Make sure you don't cut the bracelet there. And then I'm just going to melt this little tab that's sticking out. Try not to melt anything else, and once it gets down low, then I just roll it on the ruler, and that rolls this flat, makes a nice seal, and that will not reverse itself. So I'll finish this up, and then we'll start weaving the paracord on the bracelet. Okay, I'm going to make a slim profile bracelet. You can weave these bracelets with the core in place, or you can remove the central core, and that allows you to make a slightly thinner profile bracelet. And Anthony, when you get these bracelets, buddy, take a look at them, and if you like them, I'll send out the coyote brown version to you ASAP the same way. But if you get the bracelet and say I'd prefer the full thickness cord, shoot me a PM, and the coyote brown bracelets will be done with the full cord. Now it's I don't have private messages enabled on my channel page, but I'll send you a I'll enclose my email in the package here, and you just let me know what you want, buddy, and I'll take care of it. It's a matter of stripping out the central core. I think these are a little bit thinner profile and a little easier to wear. And I know a lot of guys like having these 7 central filaments for survival purposes. I'm going to say if your only paracord that you've got with you is a little bit that's on a bracelet, you're missing the boat. All right, now how much cord do you need for each bracelet? A general rule of thumb is about 1 foot per inch of bracelet diameter, and then I'd recommend that you have certainly a little extra on the ends to allow for knot tying, etc. So At the end, you just, again, heat seal these ends. I always just trim them up. It makes it easier to work with, a little bit easier to work with clean ends. All right. So I basically stripped off about 12 feet for these two bracelets that are, the longest one is just under 10 inches, so that should be more than enough. Now, what I do is I soak the cord in hot water before I make the bracelet, and then I wring it out. And I get all the water out. I just basically roll it up in a paper towel. And that capillary action of the towel, when you wring it like that, will get all the water out. It's a little bit easier weaving the bracelet with a damp cord. It also, when it dries out, is more representative of what the cord bracelet is going to look like after you've worn it for a while. So that's what we're going to start with, and I'm going to get this one going. Okay, for you guys that don't have any BDU buttons and you want to make a similar bracelet, you might be wondering, where can I get some buttons? And I would recommend going to Goodwill and searching through their piles of clothes and see if somebody has turned in a pair of BDUs they didn't want anymore, and then harvest the buttons. I also saved the legs, the arms, and the back of the top and cut out big squares of camouflage fabric, and I use those for various projects as well. So that's a thing to think about as a source for these buttons. Now, the two types that I've made, that I've shown, and there's a number of other latch options. So this is the bracelet that we're making, and I'm just out of the Coyote Brown right now, but I showed this on a previous video. This is a Chinese button knot, again with a loop, and that makes a very nice closure that's easy to do, and it's pretty secure. And then we're just making this variant with the BDU button. Now you can also make this clasp out of stainless steel wire, heavy copper wire, and there's a bunch of other clasps. Some of them get big and bulky, which I'm not a big fan of, but to each their own.